Yeah, and you've touched on a couple things there, and the Premier of Manitoba, Brian Pallister, who's been awful on this topic, he's implemented
one lawyer, one lawyer.
But it wasn't. But you know, they're misrepresenting what that lawyer said. The lawyer didn't say, "Don't bother fighting. The deal is done." And I read the opinion, and his name is Brian Schwartz, and he actually says in the document, "I'm just making a prediction because there's never been a case like this." Mm-hmm. And so, for the federal government, for Justin Trudeau's government to win this top-down model, and take away the power from the provincial governments about this carbon tax, they're going to have to do something that you said. They're going to have to call it a tax. And provincial and federal Liberals have bent over backwards for 3+ years to say cap and trade is not a tax, carbon tax is not a tax, it's a behavior changing mechanism, and that's what they're going to have to do. That's the easiest argument.
The price on carbon.
Right, price on carbon. We saw Brian Pallister uses that term. Patrick Brown wanted to sneak his way away with it and use that term. Kathleen Wynne actually called it a tax, so I'll give her credit. She was the honest one about it, and we saw what happened with her in the election when it was dominated by cap and trade carbon tax. So they're going to have to call it a carbon tax. They're not going to go down the other arguments of peace, order, good government, I don't think, because it's too risky. And the other thing is the Supreme Court on these division of power cases, what Brian said in his prediction document when he summarized other Supreme Court cases, they rarely give winner-take-all scenarios. They give parameters to the provincial and the federal governments on how the power will be given to you. So if the federal government takes the power away from the provinces and gets away with implementing this tax, they're going to have parameters wrapped around it. So, for example, one great argument is, and it came from the Liberals on the East Coast, if the federal government imposes a carbon tax, we'll just swap out our gas tax and call it a carbon tax, and we'll be done. Well, the Supreme Court is likely not going to tell not going to decide that Justin Trudeau gets to veto the provincial government saying my gas tax is now a carbon tax. The other victory is on provincial crown lands or provincial resources. I don't see how the federal government's going to get the power to tax those things that fall under provincial jurisdiction. So there's a couple things that are going to be big wins, and that's why the federal government and all the left-wing commentators and pro-tax commentators are saying, "Oh, Doug Ford's wasting his money. Don't take this to court. It's a waste of money." Well, actually, I think he's already won, because the argument that's going to get pled in court and written in a document is probably going to say that this is a tax, and it's going to give parameters around the federal government if they want to get this power, how they're going to have to do it.